Hello there, welcome to the Kwedu Report. My name is Harry and I am your host. As we approach Africa Day this May 25th, the continent of Africa is rallying behind a powerful mandate. The African Union's official theme for 2026 is assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve the goals of Agenda 2063. Far from a health initiative, this theme frames water security as the driving economic engine for continental industrialization and agricultural growth. Now, to discuss how this crucial vision is being projected globally and regionally, we are joined today from Canberra by Zimbabwe's ambassador to Australia, His Excellency Tapera Mhishi. Your Excellency, Ambassador, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Harry. It's my pleasure to be on your program.
Thank you, Ambassador. As you may not be aware, Ambassador Joe Mhishi is the Dean of the African Diplomatic Corps here in Australia. Now, let's dive straight into the main subject. Ambassador, how is the Diplomatic Corps in Australia marking this milestone this year?
Well, thank you so much, Harry. This is what we call the most important calendar for the collective of the African envoys here in Australia. So to celebrate this auspicious occasion, we undertake various activities. One of them is indeed this interface with the media. A few days ago, we were, we presented ourselves, being myself as the Dean and the Deputy Dean, at the ABC radio live coverage. The intention again is to create awareness about Africa Day, its importance, and how Australia can be an important stakeholder in the grand Africa vision. So beyond media interface, we are holding on the 26th, on Tuesday, that is in Canberra, at the Rex Hotel, we have a reception, a diplomatic reception with the diplomatic representatives as well as the African diaspora. So that is the biggest event that will mark Africa Day. And again, as you know, this is only from a diplomatic perspective, but African communities Australia-wide, they are undertaking their various activities to mark this important day. They have a number of cultural activities that are taking place to mark Africa Day. So that again is part of the whole, bouquet of what we do to celebrate Africa Day here in Australia.
Indeed, a milestone and a worthy day worthy celebrating.
So maybe I might also add, if you allow me, that we'll have as our guest honor is the Honorable Minister N. Ali, who is the Minister of, among other things, International Development Cooperation under the DFAT portfolio. We'll also have a guest speaker in the form of the Assistant Minister of DFAT, being Mark Thistlethwaite. So DFAT is part of this from an official perspective.
Well represented indeed. Thank you, Your Excellency. And now, let us go briefly into the Zimbabwe-Australia axis as we celebrate Africa Day. In recent years, we have seen shifts in global geopolitics. How would you characterize the current state of bilateral diplomatic and trade relations between Harare and Canberra as we celebrate this continental milestone this year?
Well, as they say, the only constant in life is change. So those shifts, again, they adhere to that cardinal principle, but again, within the, ambit of international relations, one other defining feature is that what is permanent are interests. And you can have these moments where there are shifts, But at the end of the day, to the extent that we share certain universal human aspirations, we always find each other. Zimbabwe and Australia have a historical relationship marked by cordial diplomatic relations, marked by economic exchanges, also characterized by cultural exchanges and cultural affinities, I might add. In particular, here comes to mind, the exchanges we enjoy between Zimbabwe and Australia when it comes to the sporting arena. We enjoy rugby. We're two rugby nations, and as I'm talking, 2027 next year, Zimbabwe rugby national team will be participating in Australia in the Rugby World Cup. And beyond that, we all both love tennis, great, tennis nations. And we also have cricket. Zimbabwe's cricket has come of age after taking what I might call a slump. But we have again shown that we are credible competitors. And this is testified by our recent showcase against Australia itself, whom we rate highly, and not only as Zimbabwe, but that is rated globally as an outstanding cricket team. So they've yet to concede some defeats to Zimbabwe. So that shows that it's an area that we know we identify with each other when it comes to cultural and sporting exchanges. We are bound by this same language. We are bound by the same academic education systems. We say, even as we celebrate Africa Day today, one defining feature of the relationship is that Zimbabwe and Australia's destinies are intertwined, and this being courtesy of the shared citizen between the two nations in the form of our diaspora. It stands to reason that Australia should celebrate successes in Zimbabwe, successes in Africa, because beyond the Zimbabwean diaspora here, we have other diasporans from other African nations. And to the extent that their prosperity impacts, or their prosperity or lack of thereof in Africa, has a bearing on how they present themselves in Australia. I'm sure people who have understood the motivating and stimulating factors for productivity will tell you that you yourself here, you are a distinguished citizen of, I say Zimbabwean, you trace your origin to Zimbabwe, but you're a distinguished citizen here in Australia. So if you have problems at the family level back home, your performance here will be impacted.
Now, Your Excellency, let us move to an item that is related to the theme for 2026, assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve the goals of Agenda 2063. The African Union is explicitly pushing a new narrative, framing water security not just as a basic human right or health issue, but as a critical economic driver for industrialization and agriculture. Given the severe climate-induced droughts and El Nino weather patterns that have impacted Southern Africa recently, Zimbabwe included, how is Zimbabwe positioning itself to achieve this ambitious water security agenda as we celebrate Africa Day?
Yeah, Harry, this is an area where a lot of policy measures have been crafted in Zimbabwe. To begin with, we are a climate change aware country. We participate in the global processes to address or manage climate change. We are part of the global consensus on even the reduction of emissions. So we're working hard also to achieve a carbon-free environment. Already starting there, we are addressing the ecosystem that impacts water availability. Whether you are talking of water in terms of its excessive water, La Nina factor, or the El Nino factor, where you're talking of the drought. So at the end of the day, you trace all these factors to, the climate change. And there's a global consensus on that. So if you are more focused on, elevating, the challenges of life that emanate from water shortage, you have to address the climate change issues. So, but more on the more immediate measures that we're taking back home, in the agriculture sector, for example, we have adopted what we call climate-proofed agriculture. This is an agriculture system that is meant to withstand the shocks in the agriculture sector that are associated with the vagaries of weather. This is a system that ensures that we optimize crop productivity or output on any given piece of land under the prevailing climatic conditions. We have also, in terms of food security, to address water shortages, we are exploring seed varieties. Seed varieties that are, for example, in the national staple food maize, we are exploring the production of seed varieties that are early ripening, so that you don't have to be counting on water for, say, 90 days. You have 46, 48 days, and then you can harvest, and the people are assured of food security. A part of our agriculture in Zimbabwe is now characterized by farm mechanization. That mechanization is not only riding on the introduction of technology in our farming, but it is also buttressed by the building of dams in each of our country's 10 provinces, so that we can then rely more not on natural rains, but rely on irrigation. So that's again an intervention measure to deal with the water shortages. And coming again closer to farming, we're talking of now, yes, we talk of center pivots, but really they are not the game changer. The game changer is your drip irrigation that economizes the amount of water you require in order to harvest your target output. So water economy is part of the equation when it comes to the way we are managing our agriculture. We are traditionally we get our energy from hydropower in the Kariba Dam. That has been affected also by the weather patterns or climatic change. We have thermal power in Wange. Wange, being a thermal power itself as well, requires water, a colossal amount of water, I should say. So we have tried now to bring in our energy mix, introduce solar as a source of energy. And that in itself is again helping us to address the subject of or the challenge of water shortage. At the moment on the Kariba, we're installing what is going to be the biggest solar project in Zimbabwe. Floating, as we call them, floating panels. That's what we're working on. So we are also conscientizing society on the importance of saving every drop. As we save every drop, people are already doing what Australians do, harvesting water that is falling on our roofs for use in various forms at the household level. We're also sinking boreholes countrywide, to tap that water that is underground, so that we can now increase the water supply. But we're also mindful that as long as the issues to do with climate change are not addressed, even the water underground, it will be depleted at some point, because it has to come from somewhere. Yeah. There's no magic formula other than to address the imminent challenges associated with climatic change.
True.
So we are also going to be embracing technologies that we see here, people now talking of hydropower. you know. So, you know, develop your technology so that you can convert hydrogen into sources of power beyond the traditional thermal systems. So we are harvesting even, you know, the water vapor in the atmosphere. I know the technologies that have evolved, and Zimbabwe is tracking those so that we can also, you know, adapt our water systems to those. So I mean, I could go on and on what we're doing in Zimbabwe. We have also we do cloud seedling so that we can induce rains from what appears to be clouds remotely carrying water. So we are part of that, occupying that scientific space.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Quite an ambitious project there, program there, and certainly Zimbabwe cannot afford to be left behind. That is the only way to go. Now, Ambassador, if we may have a look at some transboundary cooperation and infrastructure, a massive part of the 2026 AU action framework focuses on transboundary water systems and cross-border cooperation. Now, Zimbabwe shares crucial water basins like the Zambezi and the Limpopo River with Zambia and South Africa, respectively. With this in mind, how is Zimbabwe working within SADC to pioneer collaborative infrastructure investments that ensure regional stability and water equity? I'm sure you have briefly touched on this, but you may wish to elaborate.
Harry, you have mentioned an important point: regional stability, continental stability, global stability. And also you did take note that the water subject at the AU level has been taken as a security, you know, issue. So what does that all mean? Where do we place water in human relations? Studies already indicate, as way back as 15, 20 years ago, that water is a potential source of future conflicts, future wars. And some will say oil has been a source of conflicts, wars, but we are progressing now to water, because after we've oiled our industries, our machines, oil will not be used for human consumption in its state. Oil will not be used for growing crops, but water will. So to the extent that we are confronted with the prospects of water shortages, that becomes a subject of human security. So at the center of this is the issue of riparian states. Those states that are sharing, common water shed systems. We know issues associated, problematic issues associated with the Nile River, with the Blue Nile or White Nile. We know issues historical about Tigris and Euphrates rivers. We know issues to do with many river basins and rivers themselves. So the issues more problematic will be the issues of the states or those who access water upstream. If they, for example, decide to dam a river, that becomes problematic. That becomes a challenge to people who are downstream in terms of the water available. Even here with the Dare and Mare River, it's a problem issue for people who share the water, who access the water from that river. So what we're doing in Zimbabwe, in the SADC region, having recognized this potent problem, we then came up with a regional protocol. It's called the SADC Protocol on Shared Water Course Systems. This is a protocol that enables, the riparian states, the states that are sharing the water course systems, to come to a common understanding on how they will manage the water resource, issues of access, issues of utilization of the water. And so far, so good. The SADC protocol is working and serving us well. But again, we're noticing that water is that issue of being problematic if not shared. We have a protocol on the energy in the SADC region. Remember, we are now talking of, we have the Inga Dam, that is a source of hydro power for the region. We have the Kariba Dam, a source of hydropower for the region. We have the Limpopo River that you spoke about, providing so much water for human consumption, water for farming. So we come to an understanding that you cannot deny water to those that are downstream. You cannot deny energy. So our SADC energy protocol is meant to distribute energy within the sub-region, moving it to points of, in real time, points of access to points of deficit, through a market mechanism, of course. So that helps to harmonize those neighbors that are sharing the same, rivers or water or systems. So in Zimbabwe also we uphold these regional protocols, as though they were sacrosanct.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Indeed, there have been many conflicts globally emanating from water resources, and it is only important that we are ahead of the situation always. And to our viewers who are just joining us, thank you very much for joining us today on this edition of the Kwedu Report, where we have this special edition in this program where we are talking Africa Day, Freedom Day. Some in Africa call it Uhuru Day. 25 May is the day where Africa and even globally, Africa Day is celebrated, when the founding fathers of Africa came together and decided to establish a framework of unity that would spearhead the liberation of the continent. And today we are privileged to have the ambassador of Zimbabwe to the Commonwealth of Australia, Ambassador Tapera Mhishi. Now, Ambassador, we go to a subject that I think I know you have been quite passionate about it for a long time. Since your tour of duty here in Canberra, that's engaging the diaspora resource. Now, the African Union's implementation strategy explicitly calls for innovative solutions involving youth, women, and tech-driven approaches to sanitation and resource management. And Australia is a global leader in water conservation technologies. And the Zimbabwean diaspora here includes a high pool of skilled engineers, researchers, and professionals. Your Excellency, how can the embassy help bridge the gap, allowing the diaspora to actively contribute to Zimbabwe's domestic water and infrastructure goals going forward?
Thank you, Harry. I think it's for Zimbabwe in particular, it's a subject for policy. Requisite policy instruments that create the space for the diaspora to be active participants, not only in terms of water, issues, but across the board. For the diaspora to be, active participants in the entire process of nation building, of the economic development and prosperity of Zimbabwe. As I say, it's a matter of policy. What is the policy in Zimbabwe? The policy of the Second Republic is that you leave no one and no place behind. The diaspora is part of that everyone that makes the nation of Zimbabwe. It is recognized as an interested stakeholder in the fortunes of Zimbabwe. So the policy was enacted way back in 2016, which is called the Diaspora policy, with the intention to mobilize diaspora participation in the overall, programs and projects of Zimbabwe's development, primarily focusing on, knowledge and technology transfer. Therein lies the solution or the interface between the embassy and the diaspora in matters to do with the water management, systems, processes, and technologies. The other focus was on investment, focus also on innovation and skills transfer. Another focus pillar of the diaspora policy of the Zimbabwean government has been, philanthropic involvement of the diaspora. In this case, we have the Zimbabwean diaspora already doing, impressive work back home, drilling boreholes for communities, installing solar systems and building libraries in Zimbabwe, in remote areas, for example, the marginalized parts. So the diaspora is coming on board. Zimbabwe's diaspora has the space to build mini hydro power plants. There's the space, and they're already doing that solar power plants, that is, 5 megawatts, 10 megawatts, and they're doing that. They're mobilizing resources to come with those projects. So, as I said, if you can have alternative forms of energy that relieve the pressure on your water resources, you have done a plus in terms of water supply. And this is exactly what the Zimbabwean diaspora's impact in the space of water conservation is in Zimbabwe, in addition, of course, as I've mentioned, to drilling boreholes back home for their loved ones and for communities on a philanthropic plank. Now, the other pillar of the diaspora's participation in Zimbabwe has been remittances. It is on record that the diaspora in Zimbabwe has been the second contributor in terms of really the GDP after mining, and of course agriculture is also there, but they have been a significant, maybe pillar number 3 if you put them behind mining and agriculture. So you cannot downplay the importance of harnessing the powers of the diaspora. So they play a crucial role in Zimbabwe's water management systems, both directly and indirectly. If you help in the country attaining a healthy fiscal position, it means the country is able to address some of its patent problems, among which are water issues. And then it goes without saying that when you dig borehole, you've addressed an immediate water access issue for whoever is the beneficiary of that water, that potable water in this case. So then here as the embassy, we endeavor always to work with the diaspora in different sectors. Now that water has been brought to the fore. Moving forward as an embassy, we will endeavor to create a specific platform for interfacing with the diaspora that is passion specifically to address issues to do with water. Those who want to share their knowledge about water technologies, water management systems, we then put them in contact with the relevant authorities back home, whether it is ZINWA, whether it is the Ministry of Agriculture, where water is a subject of concern to that ministry, whether it is the Ministry of Health, when issues to do with the shortages of water or sanitation issues, we link the relevant diaspora once we have galvanized them as a group, and then connect them to the relevant authorities back home.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. You cannot downplay the impact or importance of the diaspora community's contribution in the infrastructure and the economy of Zimbabwe. at large. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for that very, very important aspect. Now, Ambassador, if you could leave our viewers on the Kwedu Report and across Africa and globally, and even here in the diaspora, with one defining thought on how we can collectively advance the aspirations of Agenda 2063, what would it be?
Well, sorry, I'll have to preface my response with a Shona expression
no problem.
By our president. The president of Zimbabwe is on record saying, Nyika inovakwa neve nevayo. A country is built by its owners. Likewise, or by the same token, Africa has to be and shall be built by its owners. And having said that, there is no place like home, is the old adage. Home is best is another old adage. So I would implore the African diaspora in Australia to find it in their hearts to love their motherland, to find it in their hearts to give to their motherland. If each diaspora, whether a Zimbabwean one or a Kenyan one for Kenya in that case, brings a brick back home, that brick will go a long way in the building architecture of their country. So I would then say to the diasporans, as we all work hand in glove with our countries of origin in Africa, we are assisting in the process of building the Africa we want. And then for those Africans on the African continent, I would say the time-tested tools and spirit of unity, solidarity, and cooperation, you have no better substitute. We have to continue to engage, to work together as people of Africa, as governments of Africa, and we will attain the vision of our founding forefathers, those that in their wisdom in May 1963, established the Organization of African Unity, which today is the African Union.
His Excellency, Ambassador Joe Tapera Mhishi, Zimbabwe's ambassador to the Commonwealth of Australia. It was a pleasure having you today on the Kwedu Report. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Harry, for having me on your prestigious studio.
Thank you. To our viewers, all those who have joined us today, once again, thank you for being part of the Kwedu Report. Now, the Kwedu Report is a program brought to you by Harry Media. You can support us. This is the only way you can support independent media. You can like or follow our pages on Kwedu Classics on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, and on TikTok. You can also visit our website, news.harrycommedia.com, and read all the latest news from Africa, from Zimbabwe, from Kenya, from Nigeria, from Australia, from the US, from all around the African diaspora. Once again, thank you very much for joining us. We hope to meet you in the next edition of the Kwedu Report. Enjoy Africa Day. Thank you. God bless you.